gets up and kills. The people it kills get up and kill. This situation must be controlled before it's too late. They are multiplying too rapidly.
When Dawn of the Dead was released in 1978, it became one of the most defining horror films of its time and a landmark moment in the history of zombie cinema. Directed by George A. Romero, the film served as a spiritual successor to his 1968 classic Night of the Living Dead. But this time, the scale was bigger, the vision was bolder, and the social commentary was sharper than ever. While the first film explored isolation and fear within a confined farmhouse, Dawn of the Dead expanded the world into a collapsing society, overrun by the undead, where survivors sought refuge in one of the most ironic and symbolic settings imaginable, a shopping mall. It was a place built on consumerism and excess, now surrounded by the chaos of death and survival. The story begins in the midst of a growing zombie apocalypse, as civilization starts to crumble under the weight of an unstoppable plague. The dead have begun to walk the earth, feeding on the living, and society's systems of order, government, media, and military are falling apart one by one. Amid the panic, 4 survivors emerge, each from different walks of life. Stephen, a television traffic reporter; Francine, his pregnant girlfriend and station employee; Roger, a SWAT officer; and Peter, another member of the SWAT team. Together, they decide to escape the chaos by taking a news helicopter and heading away from the cities in search of safety. Their journey through the decaying world sets the tone for what Dawn of the Dead is truly about: survival, humanity, and the collapse of moral order in a world where the rules no longer matter. After days of searching for refuge, the group comes across a massive suburban shopping mall. Inside, they find everything they could possibly need: food, clothes, weapons, shelter, and security. It's almost a paradise amid the apocalypse. They land the helicopter on the roof and begin to clear out sections of the mall, locking doors, blocking entrances, and taking down any zombies that have managed to get inside. Slowly, they transform the mall into a safe haven. What follows is a fascinating depiction of how humans adapt to new realities, even when surrounded by death. They find comfort in material goods, entertainment, and routines that remind them of the world they've lost. But beneath the surface, Romero is crafting a biting commentary on consumer culture, showing how, even in the face of extinction, humanity is drawn to the familiar comforts of shopping and possession. As time passes, the survivors begin to grow complacent. They wear fine clothes, eat lavish meals, and even play games in the mall stores, pretending for a moment that life is normal again. But the undead outside are relentless. The mall is surrounded by hundreds of zombies, drawn to the place by some faint memory of what it used to represent: a symbol of comfort, consumption, and community. This eerie repetition of human behavior by the zombies becomes one of the film's most haunting themes. Romero turns what could have been a simple horror movie into a mirror of society's obsession with materialism and the emptiness it brings. The film's tension escalates when an external threat arrives, not from the zombies, but from a gang of ruthless bikers who discover the mall and decide to raid it. Their arrival shatters the fragile peace the survivors have built. Chaos breaks loose as the bikers break into the mall, stealing goods, smashing windows, and letting hordes of zombies pour inside. In the ensuing mayhem, both the living and the undead clash in a brutal showdown. Roger, who had earlier been bitten, becomes one of the undead, leaving his friends devastated. The film's final act is a harrowing descent into madness and loss, as the survivors are forced to confront not just the monsters outside, but the darkness within themselves. Visually, Dawn of the Dead was groundbreaking for its time. The special effects, designed by Tom Savini, brought an unprecedented level of realism and gore to the screen. The bright red blood, dismemberments, and makeup effects were both shocking and revolutionary for audiences in the late 1970s. Savini's work gave the zombies a grotesque yet strangely tragic appearance, emphasizing the humanity they once had. Romero's decision to shoot much of the film in a real shopping mall added authenticity to the setting and created an unforgettable atmosphere. The sterile lights, commercial signs, and endless stores clashed perfectly with the grotesque violence unfolding inside. The film's soundtrack, composed by Dario Argento's collaborators Goblin, added another layer of unease and energy. The pulsing electronic beats, eerie synth tones, and strange rhythms gave Dawn of the Dead a surreal, almost dreamlike feel, contrasting with the carnage on screen. The use of contrasting moods, moments of dark humor, tension, and tragedy made the film more than just a horror experience. It became a social statement wrapped in entertainment, balancing chaos with critique and fear with absurdity. One of the reasons Dawn of the Dead became such a classic is its ability to blend genres seamlessly. It's not just a horror movie, it's an action thriller, a dark comedy, and a biting satire on human behavior. Romero uses zombies not simply as monsters, but as symbols. They represent the deadening of the human spirit, the repetitive nature of society, and the danger of complacency. The survivors inside the mall are safe, yet emotionally imprisoned. Their world shrinks to the walls of the mall, and their fear of losing comfort mirrors the fear of facing the real world outside. Beyond its narrative, Dawn of the Dead also stands as a reflection of the late 1970s. It captures the anxieties of the era, consumerism, social unrest, and the disillusionment that followed years of political and cultural upheaval. In many ways, the film predicted the hollow cycle of mass consumption that would define future decades. Romero didn't just make a zombie movie, he made a statement about the human condition, showing how society's flaws persist even after civilization collapses. The film's dialogue and pacing reflect this message, moving from chaos to calm, from horror to irony, constantly reminding the audience that the real monsters may not be the undead, but ourselves. As the story nears its end, the survivors realize that their time in the mall cannot last forever. The security they fought for is now overrun, their resources dwindling, and their mental state deteriorating. Francine and Peter, the last two survivors, make a desperate attempt to escape by helicopter. In one of the film's most memorable moments, they rise into the dawn sky, uncertain of what awaits them. It's an ambiguous ending, neither hopeful nor entirely bleak, leaving the audience to wonder whether survival is possible in a world where the dead refuse to rest and the living lose their humanity. Upon release, Dawn of the Dead became both controversial and celebrated. It faced censorship and bans in several countries due to its graphic violence. Yet it also earned widespread critical acclaim for its intelligence and daring vision. Audiences were shocked by its gore, but drawn in by its meaning. Over time, it became a cult classic, influencing countless filmmakers, writers, and artists across generations. Its success also cemented George A. Romero's reputation as a master of modern horror. The film's impact would go on to inspire future works, including remakes, homages, and even video games, proving that its legacy would endure long beyond the 1970s. What makes Dawn of the Dead timeless is its balance between terror and truth. It doesn't rely solely on scares. It makes the viewer think. Each scene is layered with metaphor and meaning. The zombies shuffling through the mall corridors, the survivors guarding their treasures, and the ultimate collapse of their safe haven all serve as reminders of how fragile civilization truly is. The film suggests that even when the world ends, humanity will cling to its habits, its possessions, and its illusions of control. Even decades later, the power of Dawn of the Dead remains unmatched. It stands not only as one of the greatest zombie films ever made, but also as one of the most thought-provoking works in horror history. Every rewatch reveals new details, small gestures, background moments, or lines of dialogue that deepen its commentary. It's a film that evolves with time, staying relevant in an ever-changing world. Whether viewed as a survival story, a satire, or a social critique, it continues to resonate because it reflects our fears, our flaws, and our fascination with the end of the world. Romero's vision with Dawn of the Dead was far ahead of its time. He created a world that felt both horrifying and familiar, where the apocalypse wasn't just about the undead, but about the moral decay of human society. The film's influence can be seen everywhere, from major Hollywood blockbusters to independent horror films. Its themes of consumerism, isolation, and survival have been echoed in countless stories since. But no matter how many versions or reinterpretations come after, the 1978 original remains the definitive blueprint for zombie storytelling. In the end, Dawn of the Dead is more than a film. It's a reflection of a world teetering between life and death, order and chaos, civilization and savagery. It forces the audience to confront uncomfortable truths about what it means to be human in a collapsing world. Its blend of horror and humanity ensures that it remains not just a piece of entertainment, but a haunting mirror to society's deepest fears. Through its unforgettable imagery, chilling atmosphere, and unflinching commentary, Romero created a masterpiece that stands as both a warning and a legacy, reminding us that, in the end, the dead may walk, but the living are never far behind them.